Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Regarding what I promised you guys, that was some info on Malaysia. And I'm going to give some here, and I'm also going to give more information on Malaysia on my Buy Me a Coffee channel. And I'm only going to make that available to the first class subscribers, not even to the business class. I'm doing this because I've been there. Average Men Unplugged, Rome, is there, and apparently Richie Mack of Zoom to Thailand was just there recently. I'm going to tell you guys what I do know is different. First I would say this, if you are not Muslim, the best thing to do is to go to Malaysia to work. If you get a job offer, go in there and to go and visit. If you just want to see the place, it is interesting to see. Malaysia is a Muslim majority nation. It is not a place only for Muslims to be. But I would say this, you don't seek to live in a place like Malaysia if you're not. The people there are nice and they're humane to folks of just about any religion. But the Malay people are Muslim. There are quite a few Indians that are Muslim. And there are a few Chinese that accept Islam. And the Malay people accept them very well because they've accepted the religion. You have some other tribes. They could have their own religion or they could be Muslim. But these tribes come from the same race, but they're oftentimes referred to as different races. On the western part of Malaysia, for the most part, it is the three races are considered to be the Malay, the Chinese, and the Indians. That's what they call the three races. But on the eastern side, which is the Borneo Island, shared with Indonesia, and I think part of it with Brunei, the tribes there, like Sarawak, Sulu, they sometimes refer to themselves as races, but they're not racially different. They have different languages. Some are even Hindu. Understanding when you go there, Malaysian is different from Malay. Malaysian means you're a citizen. Malay means that you belong to the Malay race, that you're original to there. Your ancestors didn't go there within written history. It's very easy to get along with them if you're well-mannered. Now, I'm talking to a black audience. I'm going to tell you as a black man, the Indians are not your friends. My wife has a brother that lives there. He was actually welcomed into the country. And his wife is there with him now. He had to leave. He had to leave Somalia because some people were gunning for men within a clan within his tribe. It's the clan to which he belongs. And he happened to know the guys that were the targets, but he didn't do anything. However, he was considered just as much of a target as the actual perpetrator of whatever it was. He was welcomed into Malaysia as a refugee. He was just going to have to rely on family for support. He said the Malay people are very nice and that the government even wants to help, but they're not going to give a citizen's job to him. They wouldn't do that for any non-citizen. He also stated that Um, the Chinese are very formal. They're polite, but they're formal. They're not your friends and they're not your enemies either. They're just about business. They socialize with each other. That's their social life. With you, it's business, and they will try to be uh, good customers of yours or good vendors to you in that regard, but their personal lives are personal, and you're not in it. The Indians cannot stand you. And I know most of them are not Muslim. Those who are Muslim tend to get along with the Malay. I don't know if the Muslim Indians are cool with black folk or not. I didn't really get to meet them. The Malay people were cool. They don't have a problem with black folk. And if you black and you Muslim, you're just that much further in. They're very appreciative. They're very polite. If you don't misbehave, you good. If you misbehave, first people would just cut you off. They just won't say anything to you. But then after that, uh, you could be picked up. Detectives, I mean. They do not play around. They're very nice. Sometimes people go there and think, oh, these are pushovers. And they find out these folks are not pushovers. That's not how that is. The Malay people don't like the Nigerians specifically, but they do differentiate between Nigerians and other Africans. They don't see all black folk as one monolithic Negro. So if you are well behaved, it is good to visit. If you find a job there, that's great. If you are Muslim and you seek to live there, try to be able to start a business there so that you're creating jobs and the government will even receive you. But um, know this too, though. And the language apparently is pretty easy. One of my colleagues is from Kuala Lumpur. Another one is from Indonesia, the country next door. And they both speak a form of Bahasa Melayu. Some differences in that Indonesia's Bahasa, meaning language, the Malay language is influenced by Dutch. Malaysia's Malay language is influenced by the Brits, which is English. So there are some differences even in that, but they can understand each other. Now, um, I've seen some of them, some Indonesian men around here in Saudi. It's rare, but I see them sometimes. And when I have seen them, they're like the Filipinos. They're very kind, and they ain't got no beef with black folk. Um, but they take no crap off Nigerians. None. Um, if you're Nigerian and you're from the north, they may not know that you are. You're probably Muslim anyway. You start off with some credits, so to speak, dealing with them. But if you are from the south and you have a name that is clearly of Nigerian origin, it doesn't even have to be specifically Igbo, then you start off in the hole with them. They're going to watch you. They don't trust you. And that's the end of it. And you can make friends over time, but they're going to watch you at first and they're not going to have you around their families or their possessions or anything like that. They're going to keep an eye on you. It's from a distance. If they're going to get to know you, they're first going to meet you in neutral places with cameras. Then when they see that you're trustworthy, that's it. That's cool. That's fine. But they're not giving you the same opportunity that they give other people early on or as early. Um, but they do believe in being fair. And if you don't cause any trouble, they don't want you to be punished for anything. You got to keep an eye out for the Indians there. If you're black, you got to watch out for them. My wife's brother told us years ago about a case where an African man who had just recently arrived in Malaysia wandered in. This was KL, I'm pretty sure. He wandered into one of their neighborhoods. He didn't know what was where, and they just killed him. And sometimes the police there are dealing with gangs of Indian boys and they'll just kill them. I've heard of police brutality, and I'm talking not about Indians that have citizenship in India. No, they're Malaysian citizens, but they're Indian in their origin, and they've been in Malaysia for maybe 100 years or so. And it's funny because um, they'll complain about police brutality and being mistreated, but when black folks show up, they'll turn around and do the exact same mother cuss word thing. And like I said, Malay people don't just walk around believing in being racist to people. Malays are very egalitarian in that regard. So it has to do with the fact that you'll find crime in their neighborhood you won't find in others. That's what it has to do with. That's what stands out to them. See, when my wife and I were going into Kampung Baru, which just means new village, and it's a piece of Kuala Lumpur. It looks very village like, but it's surrounded by modern day Kuala Lumpur. Nando's, I think, is within walking distance, and a big old mall and everything else. But you got this strip where they can live there, and they've got restaurants that are traditional and everything else. They'll put the rice and the food and everything, and they wrap it in the leaf and hand it to you, and you unroll the leaf when you sit down and eat. Don't eat the leaf, by the way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the food is in it. Big old banana leaf. But while we were there, there was this old man. He was selling some coconuts and some fruits. And when you're there, it can get humid. It's not terribly hot, about the 80s Fahrenheit. It doesn't get cold, but unless you go into the highlands, very highly elevated places, and then probably at night. But when you're there, you can get thirsty because of the humidity. So to stay hydrated, coconut water is pretty good for that in that climate. So he selling some coconuts, and my wife and I got some. And funny thing was, he didn't speak English, but he could understand a bit of Arabic. And so he heard my wife and me talking in English and Arabic, and I said a few things in Somali. And he realized that, of course, we were Muslims who came from a long way away. He realized this. So he put in some extra fruit. My wife said, well, thank you. Teri Makasi, which is how you say thank you in their language. Now, Teri Makasi literally means accept love, but they mean thank you. So then she overpaid him. He tried to get the change, and she said, put that back. And he tried to explain this as a change, and she said, well, I know. And so I started translating through the phone. We know, but it's yours. Thank you, sir. Right off the bat, we're each just looking out for the other one's interest. Simple business transaction. That's how black folk and Malay folks generally can start off. It does help to be Muslim. But in all honesty, there are times when they will show a favoritism towards a Muslim that's black in certain personal things that are discretionary. Now, here's the funny thing. You have many non-black Arabs that are living there from different places. They don't get along with them that well. They used to, but about, I know it was a specific month when this changed. It was around November, December of 2018, going into 2019 when it changed. First, they just saw Arabs as being a little bit loud, kind of rough, smokers. But then they started seeing them as rude. And then one of them ran a red light and hit a Malay woman that was a pedestrian. And they were just like, screw these Arabs. All of a sudden, Malay people who had Arab ancestry didn't even tell you they had Arab ancestry anymore. It's like, no, they wouldn't tell you that. Or if they did, they would say, well, yeah, I got Arab ancestry, but I'll crack down on like anybody else. So they used to see Arabs and love Arabs as if Arabs were like the companions to the Prophet, peace be to him. And then when they realized how they really were, they said, oh, they're a big disappointment. So it was one of those extremes, from one extreme to the next. but that's when it changed. They don't see the black Arabs, the Sudanese this way. They cool with them because the black Arabs understand that whatever the rules are somewhere, as long as they apply equally to everybody, they'll follow them. The non-black Arabs will go there, whether they were Gulf or not, and they just felt like, well, I'm an Arab, I'm special, and then pull out a cigarette where they weren't supposed to be smoking, stuff like that. So that led to some friction, and maybe it's gotten better in the last few years, but some of you want to know, what about the women? Well, here's the thing, as I've told you before. The Chinese ain't socializing with non-Chinese like that a whole lot. If you are Muslim, you can marry a Malay Muslim woman pretty easily. I mean, her family has to vet you. But what I mean is that the community is not going to make fun of her because she married a black man. They're going to want to know, okay, is he a Muslim black man? And that's not even racial. That's the rules, period. Muslim women can only marry Muslim men. That's just how that goes. That doesn't matter the race. The Indians, as I have told you before, they are not playing. They ain't your friends. They ain't our friends. They're not even neutral towards us. They tend to dislike us. And when you meet the ones that are not racist, I'm sure they're there, but when you meet the ones that are not racist, if enough of their own people gather around, they're going to be expected to not treat you like an equal. They're under pressure and they know that. Now, when I traveled there, I was on average taller, bald-headed guy by myself. People were shy. They weren't mean to me. They were just shy. They didn't know what to make of me. I don't know why, but they didn't know. Their English was good. A lot of them just didn't really seem to know what to make of me. They weren't that open and they weren't mean either. I was actually by myself for the most part. Now, it was still a nice place. But when I went with my wife and my buddy from my first visit was there, he showed me around the second time a whole lot. May Allah bless him, especially for this Ramadan. And he's still a big help to me in many ways. He knows who he is when he hears this. He showed us around. And as a matter of fact, he's had to learn a few red pill lessons. And that is the other thing I'm going to tell you. The Malay women there are not all super observant. Now, they'd rather marry a Muslim unless you find a Malay that's not Muslim. I don't know. I haven't heard of them. Now, some from other tribes may not be. But Malaysia's not the place to go looking for chicks. I wouldn't recommend that. It's a great place to visit. If you are looking for a wife, then you could go into Malaysia to look. I would tell you probably sidestep Kuala Lumpur, because I know that feminism is a big thing there. Now, other parts, I don't really know what to tell you. Second time I went, I was married. I wasn't looking for nobody else. But, pardon me, I can tell you that if you are I can tell you that if you're looking to marry and you marry an observant Muslim woman there, then you could be happy. That's been known to happen in both Indonesia and Malaysia. You got some African American men that have gone to Indonesia and Malaysia and they've married local women and they're happy. You've had Sudanese men that have gone and married local women and they're happy. And the families don't hate these men. That's not how it goes down there. But if you ain't looking for marriage, then you're going as a tourist, and that's it. Don't go trying to date because even the women that date are eventually going to start looking for a commitment. I do know a case where a guy went and he um, was talking about how when you finally get them in the sheets, they're wild. Um, that wasn't his business. He said this. And I recorded something and I advised against any non-Muslim man going into Muslim areas and then fornicate with local women, even if these women were willing to do that. I advised against that. Well, here's the thing. I can't find this dude no more. I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened. Um, and I don't particularly want to know. But I can tell you that they're not playing around over there about this. Even even when they date and they fornicate, they still don't say, well, it's okay to fornicate. That's one of the differences. So go there for the sightseeing. That's as much as I could say about that. I would tell you that the food is pretty good. They have their own food and they have food from all sorts of different places as well. Um, I can tell you that Kuala Lumpur is going to take you about, it's really going to take you at least a week, probably 2 weeks to see everything there. That place in and of itself is enough to keep you busy. Um, and I appreciate Richie Mack talking about what it means in the history of it. It literally means muddy fields. Um, I think koala is the word that means fields, and they were muddy because that's the place where the Geelong River, I'm sorry, where the Klang River and another river came together, and there were a lot of flat, muddy areas that were there at one point. Um, but that's just Kuala Lumpur. And in order for me to break down what I know about Malaysia a little bit more, you're going to have to go to Buy Me a Coffee. And I'll go ahead and share some specific information there. Um, link in the description or in the I'm sorry, link should be from one of the first comments. But that's basic overview of what you can expect. I'll go in more into detail there. So when you're done hearing this, then go to the lounge. And if you have not bought first class, I'm not even going to make it available for business. But if you have not bought first class subscription, go ahead and get that and get some more details on how to really enjoy Malaysia and get some bang for your buck. And then learn more than I know and come back and tell me. Thank you so much for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like in a black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thank you for flying with us here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.